Welcome back, everybody, to the Tommy Stone Show. I hope you're doing fantastic. Today, we have a really great episode. We're going to be jumping right into it and talking about the Iran war. But right before I do that, if you're not following my TikTok, my Instagram, and everything else that I got, make sure you go do that. Type in the Tommy Stone Show to any social media, and this mug will pop up. So make sure you're doing it on TikTok and Instagram specifically. But again, we're jumping right into it, talking about the new updates with the Iran war. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is today, apparently we are going to have another peace deal coming up soon, and this one's going to be permanent. That's coming from what Trump is saying. I'm highly skeptical of anything that's coming out, but the only thing that's making me actually give this some sort of credit, and maybe I'm going to actually listen to it, is that midterms are still coming right up, and there is no way Trump is going to be essentially sacrificing midterms to keep this war going on. I don't even think he's willing to appease Israel and appease the other people and his other allies in that industry or that field and that geopolitical sense. I don't even think he's willing to sacrifice midterms just to appease them. Because right now what's happening is the Republican Party itself is completely divided on it. But Trump's polling, he is having the lowest approval rating currently at this point in his midterms and this point in a presidency ever. This is the lowest approval rating we have ever seen. And the reason why is mainly because of the Iran war. I guess you could give a lot of credit to the Epstein files as well, being handled as poorly as they were by his administration. But really, it's this Iran war. Nobody is happy with what is going on right now. Another reason too is because we're getting no sort of clarity on anything that's happening. One day, we're getting one side of the information telling us that the war is about to end. Then the next day, that we're being told it's going to continue and the Strait of Hormuz is closed and there's still people being shot and blown up. We don't know what is going on over there. And again, we were just told today that we might be getting some sort of peace deal, and the stock markets are reacting very volatilely to this. Surprisingly, I thought people would have essentially priced out any sort of peace deal announcement at this point. But right now, people are really reacting to this. Gold went up. Some miners went up about 7 to 8% today, which is absolutely unreal. I'm invested in gold right now for the sole fact that I don't believe that the Trump administration is going to let this war continue through midterms. I think, again, we're going to see some turmoil for the next few weeks, but by the time it really gets into full swing, by the time it's summertime, there is no way this is going to be going on anymore. And the sole reason of that as well is if we can control the Strait of Hormuz, that is going to be huge for Trump's campaign, being able to say that we have essentially cut off China's ability to export oil as much as they have before Trump came in as the president. Again, now we've taken Venezuela, and if we take the Strait of Hormuz, that is one of China's primary ways of getting oil into their country, is the Strait of Hormuz. So if we cut that off, again, China's now looking a little bit more shaky. They do have a lot of reserved oil because they knew this was coming. Again, once we took Venezuela, they started stockpiling oil like crazy because they knew what was coming next, essentially, which I think is really interesting. They are somebody to be watching in the future because they're going to be acting much more aggressively. This is going to lead into Taiwan. Are they going to eventually start taking Taiwan? We do not know. Again, reason why they might want to take Taiwan, not only for the reasons of the port, but they really want TSM. They really want their ability to be creating semiconductors, because Taiwan is essentially the world's #1 semiconductor producer, the most important, again, geopolitical area for semiconductors right now. And China really wants that for themselves. So I think in the next coming year, that is going to be a really big issue for the Trump administration. And that's why I think this is a bad precedent that Trump has been issuing so many executive orders and essentially expanding what it means to be president in wartime and what a president can do in wartime. I think he did it a little bit too early, and again, jeopardizing, because now the American people don't look at him so favorably. So if China does start making aggressive moves, what is going to happen? If Trump wants to intervene, again, now the people of America are now looking against it, and now Congress is looking against it. And on top of that, the Supreme Court is also looking against that because they ruled that his tariffs are unconstitutional, saying that he went way too far and he overstepped his power. So again, from all angles right now, Trump has already overstepped his power. So if we want to see something happen, if China makes an aggressive move, or if Russia makes an aggressive move, or if Saudi Arabia, for heaven forbid, decides to team up with China more aggressively, all of a sudden Trump's hands are really now tied for what he can do, because he has now set it up where he's created a very unstable environment in the world, and the people have reacted negatively to that. But now countries can take advantage of that, and I really do not like that. I think that is what is worse that nobody's talking about right now, that China is definitely gearing up to make an aggressive move. If not China, it is probably going to be Russia. It is going to be somebody. Again, the Russia-Ukraine war, we still have no end to that. God knows what is going on over there. Again, the intel from there is different every single day. These wartime situations, the issue with having so much information and so much AI now is that we do have access to what's going on the ground. But now the people who want to disinformation us and give us fake information have so much more capability to do so on both sides of the coin. Again, Russia can disinform us, Ukraine can disinform us, and that's just one battle in particular. That's not even counting anybody else who's different interests in that battle. So we have no idea what is going on in these battlefields. I hope that we get some sort of resolution, but to me, it seems like for the next coming months, Iran is going to be the focal point of what's happening, because if we don't control that and wrap that up, not only is Trump going to lose midterms, but China and Russia and all their allies are now poised and have the perfect opportunity to make an aggressive move on the world front and essentially cut out America from the petrodollar. And why I mention that is because Saudi Arabia has already started quietly teaming up with China, selling barrels of oil in Chinese currency, and they are not supposed to be doing that. In the 1970s, America and Saudi Arabia came to a deal. America would protect them militarily if they sell all barrels of oil in American currency globally. And that ensures that every single country has to hold American dollars in their reserves. But what we're seeing now is that they're going against that, and again, selling in Chinese currency. In 2020, they only did this about 5% of the time. Now they're doing it 20% of the time, selling in non-American dollars, and again, primarily Chinese currency. So this is a huge red flag. The fact that the Trump administration is now absolutely jumping down the throat of Saudi Arabia, saying you cannot be doing this, because this is essentially, this is actually actively devaluing our dollar the more and more they do this. Again, we have such a massive inflation right now. There's a ton of other things devaluing the dollar. But this is one of the most important cruxes and crutches of the American dollar and what keeps us so strong as a country. Again, in the 1950s, we essentially strong-armed Britain from going into Egypt simply because we are the world economic power. And if we lose that front, it's no longer a safe and calm battle to end conflicts. Again, we can end them economically with our power. If we lose that, now we have to end battles militarily. And we do not want to see a world where America has to start ending wars militarily. We want to see us continue to end them economically. But again, if we do not clean up the Strait of Hormuz, and we do not stop China and stop Russia and Saudi Arabia from actively teaming up, all of this can go haywire. And I'm really worried that if Trump gets rid of all of his executive power and he essentially uses it all up before he has to really start using it, then we are really doomed as a country. I don't know where we're going to go from here, but I think the number one thing that we have to do is ensure, not even that I'm a Republican or a Democrat, I'm an independent, but I believe that we need to make sure that our government stays strong. And for that aspect, I believe that Republicans have to win the midterms, just so we can have a government that can still function, still pass bills, and still act just in case China and Russia decides to do something. I think that is much more important than anything going on right now. And something else I don't think a lot of people are talking about is the divide within the Republican Party. How can we get the Republican Party back together over this Iran war? Again, the only thing I could see that as being a solution and figuring out how to make Iran pro-West again. And obviously that is a lot easier said than done. Making Iran a pro-Western country almost sounds like an oxymoron at this point, simply because we've been going against them for literally 50 years now, about so. And people forget there was a time when Iran was very peaceful and pro-aligned with America. Again, this was years ago. But there are still people in Iran who remember a time, very old people, but there are still people who remember a time when America was viewed favorably by them. So I'm not saying it's impossible, and I think we had the perfect opportunity to do so, and I think people are really discrediting what's going on in this current situation for what was going on before. Again, the Iranian people were wanting to overthrow the Ayatollah before America and Israel got involved in this war. They were on the ground actively protesting, and the Iranian government was literally killing their own civilians by the thousands, and that's when America came in and Israel came in and intervened and started this war. So again, there was an opportunity for us to win over the Iranian people and side with them and help them, give them a new government that could be pro-American aligned, because we helped them create a new world that they wanted. But we have now dramatically failed because of how this war has been handled. So that has been all thrown out the window, which is exactly the counter to my argument, which is why I believe that we should make Iran pro-American. They probably hate us now more than ever because of how we've handled the fallout, how we've continued just to attack them essentially. And we've had no clear handling and no clear objective of how we want to end this war. So until we get a clear objective of what we want the end of this war to look like, then it's going to continue going on. We haven't seen any sort of clear plan forward for the Iranian people, but again, for the relations between America and Iran. And I think that we need to step in and say, listen, Iran, we're willing to back you at all means necessary. The only reason we want that is because we do not want any more fighting. We're willing to back Iran if they stop the nuclear weapons program. Now, me personally, I don't think that Iran is even capable of having a nuclear warhead to begin with, simply because they've been at 60% enriched uranium for years now. If they wanted to get to that 90% level, they could have done it. The reason they're not doing it is because being ambiguous with a nuclear bomb is much better for political leverage than actually having one. Because if Iran were to actually have a nuclear warhead, the America and Israel would have instantly started bombing them, and this war would have started a long time ago. And they They knew that, and they went on, and that's the reason why they did not pick up a nuclear warhead, because they would have commenced a war on themselves. They were simply using having the capability of getting a nuke to negotiate and to leverage themselves on the world front like they have for the past decades. So that is the first point of priority, is not allowing them to use this as any sort of leverage. The real leverage that they have, that they're one of the strongest. They have a very populated area and one of the most dangerous and one of the most conflicted areas in the world. If we can control Iran, we can really start to control this entire Middle East area and actually see some headway for the first time in literally thousands of years. So I think that is the most important thing, that we are willing to rebuild Iran under the only point of them stopping their nuclear weapons and now being pro-Western aligned. That doesn't necessarily mean being best friends with Israel, but they cannot be fighting Israel anymore. We will help rebuild their infrastructure and help them get back on their feet if that means they're not just going to continue fighting us at every single turn now. So I really hope that we get a great future and a great alliance with Iran out of this war. I'm not sure if it's even really possible considering how we've handled it, but that is what I'm praying for, because that will not only be good for the American people, but that will really benefit the Iranian people going forward if they can live in a land that isn't a constant war zone. So let's all cross our fingers, pray for the Iranian people, pray for the American troops over there, pray for everybody. Again, thank you so much for watching today's episode of the Tommy Stone Show. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me try posting much more consistently on YouTube, more of these long form videos. So comment down below and please like this video and subscribe to me. It really, really means a lot. We're almost at 30 subscribers. So again, thank you all for watching. Have a great day.